My cousin cornered me at our grandmother's birthday, publicly demanding $20,000 for his business. When I refused, he smirked and accused me of abandoning family. He didn't know I had the group chat logs where he mocked them all, so I projected them on the wall. Before we continue today's story, we have an urgent announcement to make. Due to technical issues, we are pivoting towards another channel. Please subscribe to our new channel, Kin and Karma. You can find the link in the video description, the pinned comment, and the collaboration tag on this video. Make sure to switch over now so you don't miss out. Thank you for your support. Now back to the story. The migraine had started as a dull throb behind my left eye around 2 in the afternoon, but by the time the sun began to set, it felt like someone was driving a railroad spike through my temple. I was sitting in my home office, surrounded by fabric swatches, silks, heavy velvets, and linen samples scattered across the oak desk like debris from an explosion. My design firm had just landed the biggest contract of my career, a boutique hotel downtown that wanted a complete overhaul, and while the money was going to be life-changing, the stress was currently trying to kill me. I pressed the heels of my hands into my eyes, trying to block out the world for just 30 seconds. The silence of the house was usually my sanctuary. Aaron, my husband, was still at the hospital finishing up his residency rounds, so it was just me and the rhythmic humming of the HVAC system. Then my phone shattered the peace. It buzzed violently against the hardwood of the desk, the vibration rattling a ceramic coaster. I cracked one eye open to look at the screen. Aunt Paisley. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach, totally separate from the migraine. Aunt Paisley didn't call to chat. She didn't call to ask how the business was going or if Aaron was getting any sleep. Aunt Paisley called when she needed something, or more accurately, when he needed something. I debated letting it go to voicemail. I really did. But the guilt, ingrained in me from decades of family conditioning, was a reflex I couldn't quite sever. I slid my thumb across the screen and put the phone to my ear, wincing as her voice pierced through the speaker volume I hadn't turned down. "Emily, finally, I've been trying to reach you for 10 minutes, she said. There was no hello, no preamble. Her tone was sharp, brittle, like dry leaves being crushed. "Hi, Aunt Paisley," I said, my voice raspy. I cleared my throat. "I've been working. Is everything okay? Is Nana Ruby all right?" "Nana is fine for now," she snapped, implying that Nana's health was somehow conditional on my behavior. "But Derek is not. He is devastated, Emily. Absolutely devastated." I closed my eyes and leaned back in my ergonomic chair, the leather creaking softly. Derek, my cousin. The 30-year-old man who had potential the way a dormant volcano has potential, mostly just sitting there, occasionally spewing smoke and ash on everyone around him. "What happened to Derek?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. I reached for my water glass, taking a slow sip. "Don't play coy with me," Paisley hissed. "He told me he spoke to you yesterday about the investment opportunity. The app, the one that is going to change everything for this family, and he told me you laughed in his face." I set the glass down hard. "I didn't laugh, Aunt Paisley. I told him that I couldn't liquidate $20,000 on a concept pitch that didn't even have a business plan. I asked to see a slide deck. I asked for a breakdown of costs. He sent me a link to a travel blog. He is a visionary." She cried out, her voice cracking with that specific brand of maternal delusion that shielded Derek from reality. "He doesn't have time for paperwork. He needs capital, Emily. And you sitting there in that big house with your new contracts. You have it, and you're hoarding it while your own flesh and blood suffers." "Suffers?" I repeated, the word tasting sour. "He's living rent-free in your basement, Aunt Paisley. He drives a leased BMW that you pay for. How is he suffering?" "He is suffering from a lack of belief," she screamed. "And now, because of your selfishness, he's spiraling. He's talking about not coming to Nana Ruby's 80th birthday party next week. Can you imagine? Breaking his grandmother's heart because he can't bear to look at the cousin who betrayed him." The manipulation was so thick it felt like physical weight. She wasn't just asking for money. She was weaponizing my grandmother's milestone birthday against me. "I am not giving him $20,000, Aunt Paisley," I said, my voice trembling slightly, not from fear, but from a mixture of exhaustion and rage. That is my final answer. Then don't bother showing up on Saturday, she spat. If you can't support this family, you aren't part of it. The line went dead. I stared at the phone, the screen turning black. The silence rushed back in, but it wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. My head throbbed, a rhythmic drumbeat of pain. I felt nausea rising in my throat. It wasn't just the money. It was the absolute, unwavering conviction in her voice that I was the villain. I had worked 18-hour days for 7 years to build my life. Derek had worked. Well, never. And yet, in the narrative they were spinning, I was the monster. I put my head down on the cool wood of the desk, tears pricking my eyes. The physical pain of the migraine was bad, but the emotional gut punch was worse. It felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. I was being cast out, excommunicated by my own blood, all because I refused to be swindled one more time. The betrayal was worse than the diagnosis itself. The next 48 hours were a blur of digital warfare. I didn't sleep that night. Aaron came home around 9:00 p.m., his scrubs smelling of antiseptic and coffee. He took one look at me, curled up on the sofa in the dark, clutching a throw pillow, and knew. "Derek," he asked, dropping his keys in the bowl by the door. "And Paisley," I whispered. He sighed, a deep, weary sound, and came over to sit on the floor beside the couch, resting his hand on my arm. What do they want this time? The crypto scheme again? Or is he trying to breed exotic iguanas? "An app," I said. "He needs 20 grand. Aaron let out a dark chuckle. "Of course he does. And let me guess, because you didn't hand over a check on the spot, you're the worst person in the world." Paisley uninvited me to Nana Ruby's party. Aaron's hand froze on my arm. "She what? Emily, that party is in 3 days. Nana has been talking about it for a year. You're the one who paid for the catering." "I know," I said, a tear finally escaping and tracking hot down my cheek. "But apparently, if I don't invest in Derek, I'm not family." I didn't want to check my phone, but I couldn't help it. The cousins and aunts group chat, a WhatsApp group that usually remained dormant except for holiday gifts, was lighting up. "Aunt Paisley, it's just so sad when money changes people. We used to be so close." Uncle Jerry, Paisley's brother. Family should always come first. Disappointing to hear some of us have forgotten where we came from. "Derek, it's fine, guys, really, I'm used to it. Some people just want to keep others down so they can feel superior. I'll make it on my own. I always do." I read the messages, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. They were rewriting history in real time. They were crafting a narrative where Derek was the martyr and I was the cold-hearted capitalist. I typed out a response, then deleted it. Typed another, deleted it. Anything I said would just look defensive. I felt physically ill. The stress was manifesting as a tight band across my chest. I couldn't focus on the hotel designs. I was missing calls from my contractors. The emotional toll was bleeding into my professional life, threatening the very stability I had fought so hard to build. Then, the phone rang again. It wasn't Paisley this time. It was Nana Ruby. I sat up, clearing my throat, trying to sound cheerful. "Hi, Nana. Happy early birthday week." "Emily," Nana's voice was frail, wavering over the line. "Paisley tells me you aren't coming on Saturday." My heart broke. "Nana, no, that's not." "She says you and Derek had a fight," Nana continued, sounding confused and hurt. "She says you insulted him. Emily, you know he's sensitive. He's trying so hard. Why can't you just help him, just this once? For me, I just want everyone together. I don't want fighting." They had got to her. They had actually used an 80-year-old woman as a pawn. "Nana," I said gently, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I love you. I will be there. I promise. I wouldn't miss it for the world." "Good," she sighed. "Good, and maybe just bring a check, just to smooth things over. Paisley says it's the only way to make peace." I froze. The request hung in the air, grotesque and manipulative. Paisley had coached her. Paisley had told her own mother to beg her granddaughter for money to give to her deadbeat grandson. "I'll see you Saturday, Nana," I said, dodging the promise. I hung up and threw the phone across the cushion. I was shaking. The audacity was breathtaking. They truly believed I would fold. They believed that the pressure of ruining Nana's birthday would be enough to crack open my bank account. I walked into my office and booted up my computer. I needed to work to distract myself. I opened my email client, intending to look at fabric invoices. But as I scrolled through my inbox, my eyes caught a subject line from 2 months ago. It was a forwarded email chain from my younger cousin, Sarah. Sarah was 19, sweet, and mostly oblivious to the family politics. She had forwarded me a thread about the family reunion logistics, but she hadn't realized that the email chain contained a reply all history that went back further than she intended. I opened it. I had glanced at it back then, saw it was just Derek rambling to his friends, and ignored it. But now I read it with fresh eyes. It was a conversation between Derek and 2 of his friends, Chaz and Mikey. "Derek, bro, I just need to get the old lady to crack. My aunt is already on board, she'll pressure Emily. Emily is soft. She acts tough, but she's desperate for approval. Once I get the 20K, we are booking that villa in Cabo. Business trip, my ass. I'm going to tell them it's for market research, lol." I stared at the screen, the white light reflected in my widening eyes. The nausea vanished. The headache evaporated. They thought they had me cornered. They thought they were playing chess while I was playing checkers. They thought that by isolating me, by weaponizing Nana, they could squeeze me dry. But they had forgotten one crucial thing. I wasn't just a designer. I was a businesswoman who kept receipts. And I had just found the receipt that would burn their entire house of cards to the ground. To understand why this betrayal cut so deep, you have to understand the history. I hadn't always been the rich cousin. 10 years ago, I was broke, eating instant noodles, and working out of a studio apartment the size of a shoebox. Derek and I grew up like siblings, or so I thought. When we were kids, I defended him on the playground. When he failed math in high school, I tutored him every night for 3 months so he could graduate. I wanted him to succeed. 3 years ago, when I landed my first major 5-figure contract, Derek came to me with a surefire investment. It was a dropshipping business for tactical flashlights. He needed $5,000. I gave it to him. 6 months later, the business didn't exist, and Derek posted photos of himself at a music festival in Coachella wearing VIP wristbands. When I asked about the money, he said the market crashed and accused me of being obsessed with cash. 2 years ago, it was a crypto mining rig. He needed $3,000 for hardware. I gave it to him, but this time I called it a loan. I never saw a dime back. He sold the rig on eBay and bought a used motorcycle. I had spent my entire adult life trying to pull him up the ladder with me. I had edited his resumes. I had got him interviews with my contacts, interviews he blew off because they were too early in the morning. I loved him, I really did. But the man I loved was a fiction. The reality was Derek. Derek, at 30, was a masterpiece of superficial charm. He was handsome in a glossy, boy band sort of way, with perfect teeth, paid for by Aunt Paisley, and hair that was always styled. He wore designer knockoffs that looked real enough from a distance. He told everyone he was an entrepreneur, a word he used to mask the fact that he was professionally unemployed. The morning of the party, I sat in my kitchen, drinking black coffee. Aaron walked in, looking sharp in his navy suit, but his eyes were worried. "Are you sure you want to do this, Em?" he asked. "We can just skip it, send a gift, and stay home." "No," I said, my voice cold and steady. "If I don't go, they win. If I don't go, the story becomes Emily is too arrogant to see her family. I'm going." "Okay," he said, nodding slowly. "But what about the money? Paisley is going to corner you." "Let her," I said. I didn't tell Aaron about the email yet. I didn't tell anyone. It was my nuclear launch code, and I wasn't going to input the sequence unless I absolutely had to. We arrived at Nana Ruby's house, a sprawling old Victorian that smelled of lavender and dust, around noon. The driveway was packed. As soon as we walked in, the atmosphere shifted. The chatter in the living room didn't stop, but it dipped in volume. Heads turned. I saw Aunt Paisley by the punch bowl, wearing a floral dress that was too tight. She saw me, and her lips pursed into a thin, pale line. She didn't wave. And then there was Derek. He was holding court in the center of the room, a glass of champagne in his hand. It was noon, wearing a slim-fit suit that looked expensive. He was laughing at something Uncle Jerry said, but as soon as he saw me, the smile didn't drop, it transformed. It curdled into a smirk. He excused himself from the group and sauntered over to me. He didn't look devastated. He didn't look like a man whose dreams had been crushed. He looked like a predator who had just spotted a wounded gazelle. "Emily," he said, his voice loud enough for half the room to hear. "I'm surprised you came. Mom said you were struggling with some priorities." "Hello, Derek," I said, clutching my purse tightly. "Happy birthday to Nana." He took a step closer, invading my personal space. He smelled of expensive cologne and stale cigarettes. "Look," he lowered his voice, but it was a stage whisper. "It's not too late to fix this. Nana is really upset. If you just transfer the funds today, we can announce the partnership during the toasts. It would make her so happy. You want to make her happy, right?" He looked me up and down, his eyes lingering on my diamond earrings. "I mean, clearly you can afford it. It's pocket change for you. Don't be greedy, Em, it's ugly." That was the moment. That was the spark. It wasn't the request for money. It was the absolute, hollow entitlement. The way he looked at my earnings born from missed holidays, sleepless nights, and ulcer-inducing stress, and decided they were his birthright. He wasn't asking for help. He was demanding tribute. "I'm not giving you the money, Derek," I said clearly. He stepped back, feigning shock. He put a hand to his chest. "Wow," he said, turning so the room could see his performance. "Okay, I guess that's it then. Family helps family, Emily, but I guess you've forgotten what that word means." The room went silent. All eyes were on me. The trap was sprung. He had baited me into a public rejection, setting the stage for my humiliation. But as I looked at his smug, polished face, I didn't feel the shame he wanted me to feel. I felt the cold, hard weight of my phone in my pocket. "Actually, Derek," I said, my voice cutting through the silence, "I think you're right. Family should be honest with each other." The silence in Nana's living room wasn't peaceful. It was expectant, like the indrawn breath before a scream. Derek's smirk wavered for a fraction of a second, his eyes darting to my face, searching for the weakness he was so accustomed to exploiting. He expected me to crumble, to apologize, to reach for my checkbook to smooth over the awkwardness. That was the script. That was how these family gatherings always went. Instead, I took a step forward. "Honesty," I repeated, letting the word hang in the air. "It's funny you bring that up, Derek, because I've been doing a lot of thinking about family helping family since you called me." Derek chuckled, a nervous, grating sound. "Em, come on, don't make a scene. It's Nana's birthday. If you're too cheap to invest, just say so. Don't try to turn this into some moral lecture." "Investing implies a return," I said, my voice steady, though my heart was hammering against my ribs. "Donations are different, and charity, that's for people who actually need it." Aunt Paisley bustled over, her floral dress rustling aggressively. "Emily, that is enough. You are ruining this party. Apologize to your cousin right now." "No," I said. The word felt foreign in my mouth, heavy and solid. "I won't." I turned to Aaron, who was standing by the punch bowl, looking both terrified and fiercely proud. He gave me a subtle nod. I knew he had my back, but this was my fight. I pulled my phone out of my clutch. It felt like drawing a weapon. "You said you needed $20,000 for an app development team," I said, addressing Derek directly but pitching my voice so the entire room could hear. "You sent me a link to a tech incubator website. You told me it was a limited-time buy-in." "It is," Derek insisted, his face flushing slightly. "They have slots filling up fast. You don't understand the tech world, Emily. You just pick out curtains." A ripple of laughter went through a few of the cousins, the ones who always sided with Derek because he was fun. The insult stung, but I let it fuel me. "I understand due diligence," I countered, "and I understand that legitimate businesses don't use personal Venmo accounts for seed funding." I unlocked my phone. My fingers flew across the screen. I wasn't just relying on the old email thread anymore. Over the last 48 hours, fueled by caffeine and righteous indignation, I had done what I do best. I dug into the details. I had called the tech incubator. It didn't exist. The website was a template purchased for $12. The contact number listed went to a Google Voice account that had been disconnected, but the real smoking gun wasn't the fake business. It was the digital footprint Derek had left behind in his arrogance. "I called the number on the website you sent me, Derek," I said, watching his eyes widen. "Do you know who answered?" It's probably an automated system," he stammered, looking toward his mother for support. "No one answered," I corrected, "because the number is dead. But I did run a reverse image search on the CEO photo on the About You's page. Turns out he's a stock photo model named Generic Businessman 4. A few people chuckled nervously. Derek's face was losing its color. "And then," I continued, relentless now, "I remembered something. You're on my old family plan for your phone, aren't you? The one Aunt Paisley begged me to keep you on 5 years ago because you were between jobs." Derek froze. He had forgotten. He had absolutely forgotten that I paid the bill for his data plan. And as the account holder, I had access to the cloud backup settings he had never bothered to change. "I didn't snoop," I lied. Well, partially lied. I had absolutely snooped once I realized he was trying to scam me. But when I logged in to check my data usage yesterday, I saw a very interesting sync from your device. Specifically, a folder titled Cabo Trip 2024. You violated my privacy." Derek shouted, his voice cracking. "Mom, she hacked my phone." "I pay for the phone, Derek," I shot back. "Legally, it's my data." I wasn't just a designer anymore. I was a prosecutor, and the living room was my courtroom. I had the evidence, but I needed the jury, my family, to see it. "What are you talking about, Emily?" Nana Ruby asked from her armchair, her voice trembling. "What trip?" Derek said the money was for his future. "He's lying to you, Nana," I said gently, turning to her. "He's been lying to all of us." "That is not true." Aunt Paisley shrieked, stepping between me and Nana like a human shield. "My son is an entrepreneur. He has vision. You're just jealous because he has big ideas and you're just a decorator." "Show them, Derek," I challenged him. "Show them the business plan. Show them the developer contracts. Show them anything other than a Wix website you built last Tuesday." Derek was sweating now. Beads of perspiration were forming on his forehead. He looked trapped, his eyes darting towards the door. "I don't have to show you anything. You're not an investor. You're just a bitter, jealous cousin." "Actually," I said, tapping my phone screen, "I think the family deserves to see exactly where their investment was going." I walked over to the large smart TV mounted above the fireplace. It was connected to the family Wi-Fi. I knew the password. I had set it up for Nana last Christmas. "Don't you dare," Derek hissed, stepping forward as if to physically stop me. Aaron stepped in, blocking his path. Aaron wasn't a fighter, but he was 6'2" and broad-shouldered. Derek stopped. I cast my phone screen to the TV. The image that popped up wasn't a spreadsheet. It wasn't a code repository. It was a screenshot of a group chat. The same one I had found in the email, but updated with fresh messages I had pulled from the cloud sync just hours ago. The text was blown up to 60 inches, crisp and undeniable. "Derek, yesterday, 4:15 p.m. Dude, she's gonna crack. The old guilt trip always works on Emily. Once the check clears, we are booking the Villa del Sol, first class all the way. I'm gonna tell them I'm at a coding boot camp in San Fran for 2 weeks. Idiots." Chaz reply, "LMAO, you're a genius, bro, get that bag." Derek reply, "Easy money. Nana is already crying about it. It's almost too easy." A gasp went through the room. It was audible, collective, and horrified. Nana Ruby made a small, choked sound. Aunt Paisley turned pale, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. "That's fake." Derek screamed, pointing a shaking finger at the TV. "She photoshopped it. She made it up." "It's dated yesterday, Derek," I said, my voice cutting through his panic. "And here's the kicker. The metadata on the photo matches the location of this house. You were sitting right here, eating Nana's cookies, when you typed that you were going to scam her granddaughter." I was joking. He stammered, pivoting to a new lie. "It was just banter. With the boys, we talk trash. It doesn't mean anything." Banter? I scrolled to the next image. It was a screenshot of a browser tab open on his phone. A travel itinerary for 3 people to Cabo San Lucas. Total cost, $18,500. The dates coincided exactly with the week after Nana's birthday. You were going to skip your own grandmother's recovery from her surgery next month, I said, my voice dropping to a whisper that carried more weight than a scream. You told her you'd be here to help her around the house, but you were going to be in Cabo, spending my money. It was a business retreat. Derek yelled, his face turning a blotchy red. Networking, you meet investors in places like that. Stop it, Uncle Jerry said. His voice was quiet, but it stopped Derek in his tracks. Uncle Jerry, who had defended Derek for years, who had loaned him money for the crypto rig, stood up. He looked tired. He looked old. Jerry, don't listen to her, Aunt Paisley pleaded, grabbing his arm. She's trying to tear this family apart. She didn't write the texts, Paisley, Jerry said, shaking her off. He looked at the TV, then at Derek. You called us idiots. You said it was easy money. I didn't mean it like that. Derek whined, regressing instantly into a petulant child. You guys don't understand the pressure I'm under. I need a break. I need to clear my head so I can focus on the next big thing. The next big thing, I repeated, shaking my head. Derek, there is no next big thing. There never was. You're 30 years old and you're still playing pretend with other people's livelihoods. The room was fractured. The revelation had split the family down the middle, but not in the way Derek expected. The younger cousins, Sarah, Mike, and Jen, were staring at the screen with disgust. They worked minimum-wage jobs. They knew the value of $1. Seeing Derek mock the easy money he extracted from us was a slap in the face. But the older generation was struggling. Denial is a powerful drug. He's just confused, Aunt Paisley stammered, tears streaming down her face. He's under so much stress. Emily, you have to understand. He didn't mean it. He would never hurt Nana. He already has, Paisley, I said. Look at her. We all turned to Nana Ruby. She was sitting very still in her armchair, her hands gripping the armrests so hard her knuckles were white. She wasn't crying. She was staring at Derek with an expression I had never seen on her face before. It wasn't anger. It was disappointment. Absolute, crushing disappointment. Nana, Derek started, taking a step toward her. Nana, please, it's just a misunderstanding. Emily is twisting everything. Did you write those words? Nana asked. Her voice was thin, Reedy. It was a joke. Derek insisted. A bad joke, I'm sorry, but the business is real, I swear, I needed a little cushion for the travel expenses, that's all. He's still lying, I said, feeling a surge of exhaustion. Derek, stop, just stop. You stop, he shouted, spinning on me. You think you're so perfect. You think because you married a doctor and started a little decorating business you're better than us. You're nothing. You're just a stuck-up. Enough. The voice boomed from the back of the room. It was Uncle Robert. He was a quiet man, a retired police officer who rarely got involved in the drama. He had been standing near the patio door, watching the entire exchange. He walked forward, the crowd parting for him. He pulled a folded piece of paper from his pocket. I didn't want to bring this up today, Robert said, his voice heavy. I wanted to give you a chance to come clean, Derek. I hoped you would grow up. Derek looked at Robert, and for the first time, genuine fear flickered in his eyes. Uncle Rob, what is that? It's a police report, Robert said simply. The room gasped again. From 3 years ago, Robert continued. When your dropshipping business failed, you remember that? That was a supply chain issue. Derek squeaked. No, Robert said. It was fraud. You took money from 3 of your friends. They filed a report. It didn't go anywhere because I stepped in. I called in a favor. I kept it off your record because Paisley begged me. She said you learned your lesson. He looked at his sister, Paisley, who was sobbing into her hands. I see now that was a mistake, Robert said. You didn't learn, you just got better at hiding it. He handed the paper to Nana Ruby. She didn't read it. She just held it, staring at the folded edges. And there's more, I added, sensing that the dam was finally breaking. Derek, tell them about the credit card. Derek's head snapped up. What credit card? The one in Nana's name, I said softly. The one I found on the kitchen counter last week when I came to visit. The one that had a balance of $5,000 for online gaming and Uber Eats. She let me use it, Derek yelled. She said I could get lunch. $5,000 of lunch, I asked. Nana didn't know about that card, did she? You opened it online using her social security number. I saw the mail, Derek. I saw the late notices. I hadn't planned to reveal that today. I wanted to handle it privately, to pay it off myself and cut the card. But seeing him stand there, so arrogant, so unrepentant, I realized that protecting him was enabling him. Nana looked up at Derek. You opened a credit card in my name. Derek was cornered. There were no more lies to spin. The walls were closing in. The police report. The text messages. The credit card fraud. It was a mountain of evidence that no amount of charm could scale. I was going to pay it back. He screamed, his voice raw. Once the app took off, I was going to pay it all back with interest. Why doesn't anyone believe in me? Because there is no app. I shouted back, finally losing my composure. There is no business. There is just you, stealing from the people who love you. The silence that followed was total. It was the end of the line. The illusion was shattered, leaving only the ugly, jagged truth on the floor. The weight of the silence in Nana Ruby's living room was heavier than any physical object. It pressed down on us, stifling breath, freezing movement. The late afternoon sun filtered through the lace curtains, casting long, accusing shadows across the carpet. Dust motes danced in the light, oblivious to the family imploding below them. All eyes were on Nana Ruby. She was a small woman, shrunk by 80 years of life, arthritis, and compromise. For decades, she had been the glue, the peacemaker, the one who smoothed over every crack in the family foundation with a smile and a casserole. She had forgiven Derek's mistakes, more times than anyone could count, always believing in his potential, always seeing the sweet boy he used to be. But now, she looked at the police report in her trembling hands. She looked at the credit card statement I had pulled up on the TV screen next to the Cabo itinerary. She looked at Derek, who was standing there, panting slightly, his face a mask of panicked defiance. Slowly, painfully, she stood up. Her cane clattered to the floor, forgotten. Derek, she said. Her voice wasn't frail anymore. It was hollow, stripped of all warmth. Is this true? Did you open a credit card in my name? Nana, listen, Derek started, taking a step toward her, hands raised in a placating gesture. It was just a temporary thing, to build credit, for the business. I was going to pay it off next month, I swear. You know I'm good for it. Good for it, Nana repeated, her voice rising. You stole from me. You stole my identity. It's not stealing if it's family. Derek shouted, desperate now. We help each other, that's the rule. You always said that. We help each other when there is need, Nana said, her eyes flashing with a sudden, fierce clarity. Not when there is greed. Not when there are lies. She turned to look at the TV screen, at the hateful words glowing in 60-inch definition. Idiots, easy money. She read them aloud, each word a hammer blow. That was just a joke. Derek wailed, looking around the room for support. Mom, tell her. Aunt Paisley was sobbing into a tissue, unable to meet her son's eyes. Uncle Jerry was staring at the floor. Uncle Robert stood with his arms crossed, his face grim. Even the younger cousins had turned away. You called your family idiots, Nana said softly. You laughed at us. You laughed at me. She took a deep breath, and I saw something shift in her eyes. The grandmother who baked cookies and slipped $20 bills into birthday cards was gone. In her place stood the matriarch who had raised 3 children alone after her husband died, who had worked 2 jobs to keep this house. Get out, she whispered. Derek blinked. What? Get out of my house, Nana said, her voice stronger. She pointed a shaking finger at the door. Get out, and don't come back until you have paid every cent of that $5,000 back. Nana, Derek cried, his face crumbling. You can't be serious. It's my birthday, too. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care, Nana said. The finality in her tone was terrifying. You have taken enough. You have taken my trust. You have taken my peace. And you tried to take my granddaughter's hard-earned money and make her look like the villain. She turned to me, her eyes filling with tears. Emily. I am so sorry. It's okay, Nana, I said, my own throat tight. It's not your fault. It is my fault, she said, shaking her head. I let him, I enabled him, I didn't want to see it. She looked back at Derek. Go now. Derek looked around the room one last time. He looked at his mother, who was now weeping openly but didn't move to defend him. He looked at Uncle Robert, who took a menacing step forward. With a snarl of frustration, Derek grabbed his jacket off the coat rack. Fine, be like that. You'll all be sorry when I make it big. You'll come crawling back begging for a handout. He stormed out the front door, slamming it so hard the windows rattled in their frames. The sound echoed like a gunshot, marking the end of an era. The room let out a collective breath. It was over. The leech had been detached. Aunt Paisley collapsed onto the sofa, sobbing uncontrollably. Uncle Jerry went to comfort her, but Nana Ruby didn't sit down. She walked over to me, her steps slow but steady. She took my hands in hers. Her skin was paper-thin, cool to the touch. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for being brave enough to tell the truth. I hugged her, burying my face in her soft, lavender-scented shoulder. I love you, Nana. I know, she said, stroking my hair. I know. The fallout was swift and brutal, but necessary. The next few months were a whirlwind of legal and financial restructuring. With Nana's blessing and insistence, I took over as her power of attorney. It wasn't a role I wanted, but it was one I needed to take to protect her. The first thing we did was freeze her credit. I spent hours on the phone with the credit card company, filing fraud reports. Because Derek was family, and because he had lived at her address, it was messy. But once I sent them the police report Uncle Robert had dug up, they took it seriously. The debt was eventually cleared from Nana's name, though the investigation into Derek is still ongoing. Aunt Paisley was a harder nut to crack. For weeks, she called me, alternating between screaming at me for destroying her son and begging me to drop the fraud charges. But I held firm. I told her that if she wanted to help Derek, she needed to stop shielding him from the consequences of his actions. Enabling him was killing him and her. Eventually, she stopped calling. Uncle Jerry told me she had started going to therapy. It's a slow process, but for the first time in years, she isn't paying Derek's rent. As for Derek, he didn't go to Cabo. Without the investment from me, and with his mother finally cutting off the financial drip feed, his house of cards collapsed. He was evicted from the basement apartment Paisley had been renting for him. He tried to crash with friends, but word spreads fast in a small town. Chaz and Mikey, the friends from the group chat, apparently weren't interested in housing a broke scammer. Last I heard, he was working at a car wash 2 towns over. It's honest work. Hard work. Maybe, for the first time in his life, he's actually earning $1 instead of stealing one. Nana's 80th birthday party didn't end with cake and singing. It ended with tears and a quiet dinner of leftovers. But in a strange way, it was the best gift we could have given her. We gave her the truth. We gave her back her dignity. We still have family dinners. They are smaller now, quieter. But the tension is gone. The elephant in the room has been escorted out. I still have the screenshot of that group chat saved on my phone, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. A reminder that family isn't defined by blood, but by respect. A reminder that help shouldn't enable destruction. And a reminder that sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is say no. Yesterday, I was working in my office when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Nana. Nana Ruby, thinking of you, dear. Thank you for checking on the accounts. I'm sleeping better these days. Love you. I smiled, the migraine that had plagued me for weeks finally, fully gone. I typed back. Emily, love you too, Nana. See you Sunday. I put the phone down and looked out the window. The sun was shining. The fabric swatches on my desk looked beautiful in the natural light. My business was thriving. My husband was happy. And my family, though scarred, was finally healing. Derek might have called us idiots. He might have thought we were easy marks. But in the end, He was the one who underestimated the power of a family that decides to stop being victims. He smirked and said family helps each other, and he was right. We helped each other see the truth, and that truth set us free.